The capital planet of the Varelian Empire was alive with tension. From the crystal towers to the palace gardens, every corner of the city seemed to hum with anticipation. The unknown fleet that had appeared at the edge of the system drew closer each hour, and the Empire's defenses were being tested for the first time in generations. Princess Lyra, once untouchable and bound strictly by tradition, now stood at the center of preparation, her mind sharp, her focus unyielding. The Imperial Council gathered in the Grand Hall once more, debating strategies with rigid formality. Shields, patrols, energy cannons, all were discussed in exhaustive detail. Yet the Council moved slowly, weighed down by rules and precedent. Every suggestion was analyzed, reanalyzed, and then delayed. Lyra observed quietly, her silver hair reflecting the soft green light streaming through the crystal windows. She had grown impatient with endless deliberation. Action was required, and she knew exactly who could help. "Captain Ryan," she called, her voice steady and commanding. The humans entered immediately, aware of the gravity in her tone. Lyra ignored the Council's protests, stepping forward to address both humans and Varelians. "We do not have the luxury of hesitation. Your people have shown intelligence, adaptability, and courage. I trust your guidance. Lead where you must, and we will follow." A wave of murmurs swept through the Council. Some members gasped audibly. Protocol dictated that no human should ever take a leadership role in Varelian strategy. Lyra's decision was audacious, even scandalous, yet she remained firm. Her eyes met Captain Ryan's, and he nodded slightly, understanding both the trust and the risk involved. The humans quickly began analyzing the fleet's movements, combining their own data with the Varelian intelligence network. They identified weak points in the defensive perimeter that the Council had overlooked, and proposed dynamic strategies to neutralize the threat efficiently. Lyra absorbed every detail, coordinating with her own forces to implement changes. For the first time, the Empire acted with both precision and adaptability. As preparations continued, whispers throughout the palace grew louder. Some nobles accused Lyra of undermining tradition, of endangering the Empire for the sake of human influence. Others watched with quiet fascination, intrigued by the results of her decisions. Soldiers and guards who had once feared making choices on their own now followed Lyra's guidance with confidence. Inspired by the human methods she had adopted, night fell over the capital, painting the city in soft shades of green and silver. Lyra moved through the palace, inspecting the defensive stations personally. She watched soldiers prepare energy shields, stationed cannons, and deploy reconnaissance drones. Every action was precise, yet now infused with human-style initiative and flexibility. She felt a surge of pride. The Empire was responding, adapting and preparing, not merely following rigid rules. Captain Ryan approached her quietly in the observation deck. "Princess," he said, "your people have responded well to the changes. They may have doubted at first, but now they are ready. The fleet will not find us unprepared." Lyra turned, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "I hope you are right, Captain. But even if the humans are clever, even if our strategies are sound, there is still risk. Tradition cannot always predict the unknown. That is why courage, decisiveness, and understanding are so important." As the first ships of the fleet entered the system, alarms rang across the capital. Lights flashed and energy fields shimmered across the defensive grids. The fleet was unlike anything the Empire had faced, sleek, fast, and heavily armed. The Varelian soldiers stood at their stations, their movements precise, yet fear began to creep into their disciplined ranks. Lyra's voice echoed through the command center. "Do not hesitate. Trust in your training, trust in your strategy, and trust in those who stand beside you. We face this challenge together." Her words carried authority, inspiration, and a message unfamiliar to many in the Empire. Choice and courage could coexist with discipline. Captain Ryan coordinated the human teams with the Varelian forces. Together they deployed countermeasures, maneuvered patrol ships, and anticipated the enemy's movements. The fleet's speed and precision tested every defensive measure. Yet the combination of human adaptability and Varelian discipline proved formidable. During a critical moment, a group of enemy ships targeted the palace itself, aiming to disable command centers. Lyra made a rapid decision, overriding protocol, and ordered a coordinated counterattack. Humans and Varelians executed flawlessly, their efforts protecting the palace while neutralizing the threat. Guards who had previously hesitated now acted with confidence, following Lyra's lead. The council watched in awe, their earlier doubts slowly replaced by recognition. Lyra had broken tradition, yes, but she had done so to protect the Empire. And in doing so, she demonstrated a principle that many had long forgotten. Leadership required both courage and wisdom, not just adherence to rules. After the initial wave of the attack was repelled, the princess walked through the command center, speaking to soldiers and strategists alike. She offered encouragement, advice, and recognition. For the first time, Varelians saw their untouchable princess not as a distant figure to be revered or feared, but as a leader who shared their risks and understood their challenges. Captain Rian observed quietly, proud of the progress made. Humans had not only contributed strategically, they had inspired a transformation in the way the Empire approached leadership, risk, and unity. Lyra had embraced their perspective without losing her own identity. Together, they had created a force stronger than either culture could achieve alone. As the battle continued, the fleet's attacks grew more aggressive. The enemy tested the defenses with precision, yet each maneuver was countered by the combined forces of humans and Varelians. Lyra's quick thinking and willingness to defy tradition proved decisive. She adapted strategies in real time, making choices the Council could not have considered under normal rules. By the time the fleet retreated to regroup, the capital planet remained intact. Energy shields held, defensive positions remained secure, and the palace had been unharmed. Lyra stood on the observation deck, watching the stars where the enemy ships disappeared. The city below began to hum again, a mix of relief, pride, and awe at what had been accomplished. The council, now gathered in the grand hall once more, looked at Lyra with a mixture of respect and hesitation. They understood that she had acted beyond protocol, yet the results spoke for themselves. The Empire had survived, and in doing so, it had gained something even more valuable: the understanding that courage, intelligence, and adaptability could coexist with tradition. Princess Lyra turned to Captain Ryan, her expression calm but warm. "Your people have shown me what it means to act with honor and courage," she said softly. "And I have learned that even an empire built on rules can grow stronger when it embraces new ideas." Ryan bowed slightly. "Princess, it is an honor to serve alongside you. Your willingness to trust, to act decisively, and to inspire your people, that is what makes a true leader." For the first time in centuries, the Varelian Empire witnessed a shift in perspective. Tradition remained, but the bonds of courage, understanding, and collaboration had begun to reshape the future. Soldiers, advisors, and nobles alike recognized that the Empire could face the unknown, not only with rules and discipline, but with the intelligence, bravery, and ingenuity of both Varelians and humans. That night, Lyra walked through her garden reflecting on the events of the day. The fountains glimmered under the pale green light, and the city sparkled like a field of stars below. She thought about the human who had bowed before her, the small gesture that had sparked curiosity, challenged protocol, and led to transformation. It was a simple act, yet it had changed everything. Captain Ryan joined her quietly. "Princess," he said, "your leadership today has been remarkable. You have shown that courage is not just about action. It is about choice and the strength to act rightly even when the rules are unclear." Lyra smiled faintly. "And your people have reminded me that strength comes not only from tradition, but also from understanding, respect, and the willingness to embrace change. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new era for the Empire." The two stood together looking at the city below. For the first time, the untouchable princess felt truly connected to the world around her. She had faced danger, defied tradition, and discovered that courage and intelligence could come from unexpected places. Humans were no longer strangers. They were allies, teachers, and a reflection of possibilities beyond her imagination. As the night deepened and the city quieted, Lyra felt hope. The Varelian Empire had survived its first test, not by rigid obedience, but by daring, by respect, and by collaboration. The spark of change was no longer small. It burned brightly, promising a future where strength and courage could thrive in harmony with tradition. And in the quiet of the garden, with the stars above and the city below, Lyra realized that the true power of leadership was not untouchable authority, but the ability to inspire, to adapt, and to act with both wisdom and bravery. The morning light bathed the capital planet in pale green, casting reflections across the silver towers. The battle had passed, and though the unknown fleet lingered at the edge of the system, the immediate threat had been repelled. Energy shields hummed softly, and soldiers moved through the streets with a newfound confidence. The Empire had survived not through strict obedience alone, but through courage, intelligence, and collaboration. Princess Lyra stood on her balcony, overlooking the city. Her silver hair caught the sunlight, shimmering like liquid metal. She had spent the night walking through her thoughts, reflecting on the changes that had taken place. The humans had not only helped protect the Empire, they had inspired a transformation in leadership, in courage, and in understanding. Captain Ryan approached quietly, bowing respectfully. "Princess Lyra," he said, "the fleet has retreated for now. Your strategy, your decisions, and the coordination with human teams were key to success. The Empire owes much to your leadership." Lyra smiled, but it was not the practiced, formal smile of a princess performing for the court. It was genuine, warm, and thoughtful. "Captain, I only acted as I should have. The humans reminded me that courage and intelligence can go hand in hand with discipline. I have learned much from you and your people." Ryan bowed again, a gesture of respect that had become symbolic throughout the palace. The humans' presence had been more than strategic. It had changed the way the Virelians viewed bravery, choice, and cooperation. The Imperial Council had convened in the Grand Hall to assess the battle and its aftermath. Counselors who had once questioned Lyra's decisions now found themselves reconsidering their own approach to leadership. They spoke carefully, acknowledging the success of her strategies, though some admitted it challenged centuries of tradition. Lyra listened quietly, knowing that change required both patience and courage. The citizens of the capital began to hear the news of the battle's resolution. Word spread quickly of the humans' role, the princess's decisive actions, and the defense of the city. Soldiers, advisors, and nobles alike recognized that bravery and intelligence could be found in unexpected places. Even the most skeptical council members began to accept that innovation could complement tradition, not replace it. In the private gardens of the palace, Lyra and Ryan walked together. The waterfalls glimmered in the morning light, and the exotic plants swayed gently. The air was calm, carrying a sense of renewal. Lyra spoke softly. "Captain, your bow, the gesture you made when you saved me, was more than a sign of respect. It was a bridge. It opened my eyes to what humans can teach us and what we can achieve together." Ryan nodded. "Princess, it was an instinctive act. I acted out of respect and the desire to protect life. I could not have predicted the effect it would have, but it shows that even small gestures, when guided by honor, can create change." Lyra's gaze drifted toward the horizon, where distant stars glimmered like diamonds. "I want this empire to grow stronger, not just in power, but in wisdom. I want my people to see that courage, intelligence, and respect are not limited to bloodlines or tradition. They are qualities found anywhere, even among humans." As the day progressed, Lyra addressed her court. The Grand Hall was filled with nobles, advisors, and military leaders. The council watched cautiously, uncertain of what the princess intended. Lyra stepped forward, her presence commanding yet approachable. "My people," she began, her voice steady and clear, "we have faced a challenge unlike any before. We survived not only because of our strength and training, but because we learned to trust courage and intelligence wherever they could be found. Humans, our allies, have shown us new ways to act with honor and decisiveness. We have seen that leadership is not defined solely by tradition, but by wisdom, bravery, and the willingness to embrace change." Whispers filled the hall, but the words of the princess carried weight. Her tone was firm, inspiring, and undeniable. She continued, "From this day forward, the Empire will honor courage, intelligence, and respect in all forms. We will not abandon tradition, but we will allow it to grow alongside new ideas. We will learn from others, and we will act when action is needed." The council members exchanged glances. Some were hesitant, but most recognized the truth in her words. Lyra had demonstrated that rules were important, but courage and intelligence could redefine them without disrespect. The Empire had survived the first great test of this new approach, and it had succeeded. Outside the Grand Hall, citizens gathered in the streets, watching the palace with wonder. Soldiers who had fought bravely looked toward Lyra with admiration. Nobles, even those who had doubted her, found themselves inspired by her vision. The Empire's future seemed brighter, more united, and stronger than ever before. In the private audience chamber, Lyra and Ryan reflected on the events of the past days. "Captain," she said, "I once believed that I had to be untouchable, bound by rules and expectations. But now I see that true strength comes from trust, understanding, and the courage to act wisely. You have taught me that." Ryan bowed slightly, a gesture of respect and friendship. "Princess Lyra, it has been an honor to serve beside you. Your courage and intelligence guided your people and inspired even my team. Humans admire those who lead with wisdom, and you have proven that leadership can unite cultures." A gentle breeze swept through the chamber, and for a moment, the weight of duty seemed lighter. Lyra realized that the Empire was no longer constrained by fear of failure or strict protocol. It had embraced a new era, one where courage, intelligence, and collaboration could thrive. Over the next weeks, humans worked closely with the Virelians, sharing technology, strategies, and ideas. The palace became a hub of learning and collaboration, where species from different worlds exchanged knowledge and respect. Lyra's leadership was praised, not only for defending the Empire but for inspiring growth, trust, and understanding. One evening, as the pale green sun set over the capital, Lyra stood in the palace gardens, reflecting on the journey that had begun with a simple bow. It had been a small act, almost insignificant at the moment, yet it had sparked curiosity, challenged tradition, and opened doors to understanding. Humans had shown bravery, honor, and intelligence, and in doing so, had changed the Virelian Empire forever. Captain Ryan joined her quietly, his presence calm and steady. "Princess," he said, "your empire is stronger today because you embraced courage, trust, and collaboration. You showed your people that strength comes from wisdom as well as discipline." Lyra smiled, her silver hair glowing in the sunset. "And your people reminded me that the world is larger than rules, larger than tradition. Courage and intelligence exist in every being, if we only recognize them. Together we have opened a door to a new future." The two stood together, looking over the city. Soldiers patrolled confidently. Citizens moved with a sense of purpose, and the palace shone like a beacon of hope and progress. The Virelian Empire had survived the first true test of change, and it had emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. Princess Lyra turned to Ryan and nodded. "Thank you for showing me the way, Captain. This is only the beginning. The Empire has learned much, and there is still more to discover. We will continue to grow together." Ryan bowed one final time, a gesture full of respect and promise. "Princess, it has been an honor, and I believe the future we build together will be remarkable." As night fell, the stars above the capital glittered like scattered jewels. The Virelian Empire, once bound strictly by tradition and fear, now faced the future with courage, intelligence, and unity. And at the center of it all stood Princess Lyra, the untouchable, who had learned that true strength lies not in being untouchable, but in inspiring respect, embracing wisdom, and acting with courage. The humans had come to the Empire as guests, but they left as allies, teachers, and friends, and the simple bow that had started it all became a symbol, a reminder that even the smallest gesture, guided by honor and bravery, could change the course of history. A new era had begun. The forest of shifting lights was unlike anything Captain Aaron had ever seen. Its trees glowed softly, their leaves shifting colors as if the forest itself were breathing. Paths appeared and disappeared, and the air seemed to hum with energy. Every step felt unpredictable. It was beautiful but dangerous. Aaron tightened the straps of his pack and took a deep breath. The symbol from the glowing creature on his palm pulsed faintly as if encouraging him. He remembered the princess's words. "Trust yourself, and trust what you feel." The first challenge came almost immediately. A path split in two. One led over a narrow bridge of light that swayed as if it were alive. The other led through a dense thicket that seemed darker than the rest of the forest. Both paths called to him, one whispering of safety, the other of uncertainty. He paused. Humans often relied on logic and careful observation. He closed his eyes, listened to his instincts, and chose the bridge. It swayed, twisted, and shimmered beneath his feet. For a moment, Aaron's heart raced, but he moved slowly, keeping his balance. As he reached the middle, the light beneath him flickered, forming a reflection of himself, larger and stronger than he was. The reflection spoke, a voice echoing in his mind. "Turn back. You are not strong enough." Aaron shook his head. "I have come this far," he whispered aloud. I will not give up. The reflection vanished and the bridge solidified beneath his feet. He crossed safely and stepped onto a path of floating stones. Each stone moved slightly, requiring him to jump from one to another carefully. His muscles ached, but he focused. Step by step he advanced, feeling more confident with each leap. Then came the illusions. Shapes appeared among the trees. Giant creatures with glowing eyes. Shadowy figures that resembled the council laughing at him. Their voices rang in his ears, mocking his human size and his simple ship. Aaron stumbled but forced himself to stand tall. He remembered the words of his parents on Earth. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to face it. He spoke firmly, as if the forest could hear him. I am not afraid. I will do my best no matter what you show me. The illusions paused. Some vanished entirely, replaced by a soft, warm light that seemed to guide him forward. The forest tested him not by strength, but by his ability to stay calm and think clearly. Hours passed. The forest shifted continuously. Paths that seemed solid disappeared when he stepped on them. Strange flowers released pollen that made him see visions. His ship being destroyed, the council rejecting him, the princess turning away. He felt a moment of doubt. Could a human truly prove themselves worthy here? He shook his head. I cannot fail now. Not after coming this far. Aaron remembered something important. Humans could adapt. He looked for patterns in the forest, paying attention to the movement of the lights and the colors of the leaves. Slowly, he noticed a rhythm. Certain stones glowed brighter just before they moved. Certain shadows disappeared when he focused his attention on them. Using this observation, he navigated the tricky areas more confidently. The illusions still came, but they could not stop him. The forest seemed to test his mind as much as his courage. Finally, he reached a clearing. At its center was a pool of water so clear it reflected the entire sky above, even though the forest canopy was dense. Around it, light creatures danced, floating in the air like glowing fireflies. Aaron stepped closer and saw the same creature that had marked his palm earlier. It hovered above the pool, its light pulsing with gentle energy. He knelt instinctively, feeling a sense of calm and accomplishment. The creature's voice came again, not in words, but as a feeling. You have faced fear, doubt, and uncertainty. You have chosen courage over hesitation. The path ahead will demand more, but you are worthy to continue. The symbol on his hand glowed brighter, almost as if it were alive. Aaron smiled. He had passed the first part of the trial. His courage had been tested and he had not failed. Yet the forest was not done. From the shadows, a wall of light rose, forming a barrier in front of him. It pulsed like a heartbeat. He could not see through it, and there was no clear way around. He realized this was another test, one of trust. He closed his eyes and remembered the princess's advice again. Trust yourself. Slowly, he reached out and placed his hand on the wall of light. It felt warm, almost alive. The light pulsed faster, then parted slowly, revealing a narrow path that had not existed before. Aaron walked through, realizing that the forest rewarded those who could stay calm and trust their instincts. It was not enough to be strong or fast. He had to understand, observe, and adapt. As he progressed, he felt the energy of the forest shifting. The illusions became less frequent. The path stabilized. It was as if the forest recognized his determination and allowed him to move forward with more clarity. Eventually, he reached the final part of the trial, a stone pedestal at the center of the clearing glowing softly. On it rested a crystal, small but radiant. Aaron approached carefully. The forest seemed to hum around him. He reached out and touched the crystal. Instantly, a vision filled his mind. He saw the council still doubtful and the princess watching silently. He saw himself standing tall, holding her hand, smiling. He saw humanity reaching across the stars, forming connections with other civilizations. The vision faded, leaving him with a feeling of warmth and purpose. He understood something essential. Courage alone was not enough. Humans could succeed where others doubted them because they combined courage with hope, creativity, and the ability to connect with others. The forest shimmered around him one last time, then opened a path leading back toward the palace. Aaron followed it, his heart light and steady. He had survived the trial of courage. He had proven that even as a human, he could face challenges that even the wisest Virelians might hesitate to attempt. When he returned to the palace, he found Princess Liana waiting. She had not gone to see him during the trial. She believed he needed to face it on his own. Yet the moment he appeared, she smiled. It was a smile of quiet admiration and encouragement. "You did well," she said. Her voice carried a warmth that reached him deep inside. "The forest tests more than strength or skill. It tests the heart. And yours has not failed." Aaron bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Princess Liana. I could not have done it without remembering your words." She extended her hand toward him, not just as a gesture of friendship, but as a sign of trust. Aaron took it, feeling the pulse of her energy quiet and steady, a calm he had not expected in the midst of such trials. The council watched from the chambers above. Their laughter had been replaced by murmurs of surprise. Some elders shook their heads, unwilling to admit it openly, but even they could see that something remarkable had occurred. "You may have courage," Elder Corrin said, his tone measured, "but the trials have only begun. Wisdom and understanding will follow. Only then can a human truly be considered worthy of the princess." Aaron nodded. He understood. The journey would not end here. The trial of courage had tested his heart. But the council still demanded more. Tests of mind and wisdom. Challenges that would prove whether humans could rise beyond what others expected. Yet, for the first time, Aaron felt a surge of hope. The princess had seen him as more than a curiosity. The forest had acknowledged his courage. He had already changed something in this alien world. And as he looked at the stars above the palace, twinkling beyond the crystal towers, he knew one thing for certain. Humans could surprise the universe if only they dared to try. The chamber of the Varelian Council was quiet, almost too quiet. The elders, their eyes gleaming like polished crystals, watched Captain Aaron with an intensity that made his heart beat faster. The trial of courage had ended, and though he had returned alive, the council's approval was far from certain. They had agreed to the next challenge, the trial of wisdom. Elder Corrin, seated at the center of the semicircle, spoke. "Human," he said, his voice steady, "you have demonstrated courage in the forest of shifting lights. That was expected of any traveler who dares to step into our world. But courage alone does not make one worthy of a princess nor of our trust. You must now show wisdom." Aaron straightened. "I am ready," he said. The council's chamber shimmered. Holographic images appeared, twisting and moving as if alive. Elder Corrin continued. "We will present a riddle, ancient and known to every Varelian of age. Solve it, and the council will see that your mind can match your courage. Fail, and you return home in failure, your attempts mocked across the stars." A murmur ran through the chamber. Aaron could feel the weight of centuries pressing down on him. The riddle itself was simple in words but vast in meaning. "I am born without form, yet I shape all. I am silent, yet my voice moves nations. I am neither young nor old, yet time flows through me. What am I?" The council waited, their eyes fixed on him. The pressure was immense. Many Varelians would immediately answer knowledge, energy, or time itself. But Aaron sensed that the answer would not be straightforward. Humans often looked at problems differently, relying not just on logic but on empathy, creativity, and the way one connected ideas. He thought of the forest, the glowing creature, the illusions he had faced. All of it was a test not just of skill but of understanding. Humans valued connection, between life, between thought, between action. The riddle was not asking what rules the universe. It asked what moves the universe in subtle ways, often unseen. Aaron spoke carefully. "The answer is hope," he said. A sharp silence filled the chamber. The council members blinked, unprepared for this response. Hope. Not energy, not knowledge, not time, but hope. It was intangible, invisible, yet it drove humans to act, to build, to reach beyond their limits. Elder Corrin leaned forward, his expression unreadable. "Explain, human. How does hope shape all and move nations?" Aaron swallowed, choosing his words carefully. "Hope exists in every choice. It gives life meaning when the future is uncertain. It inspires courage, as I have shown in the forest. It moves civilizations to unite, to explore, to survive. It may have no form, yet it shapes thoughts and actions, and through them, the world itself." Another elder, her eyes like molten silver, whispered to the one beside her, "He speaks with understanding. An understanding rare even among us." The council members were divided. Some muttered among themselves, clearly skeptical. "A human," Claiming understanding of such abstract forces, they said. Yet others leaned forward, their eyes gleaming with interest. Princess Liana's gaze softened. She had watched Aaron carefully, observing not just his answer but the way he spoke with clarity, respect, and sincerity. Unlike many Varelians, he did not boast of his knowledge. He shared what he had learned through experience. That, she realized, was true wisdom. Elder Corrin studied him in silence for a long moment. Then finally he spoke. Your answer is unusual, yet it is thoughtful and profound. Perhaps we have underestimated humans. A low murmur passed through the younger Varelians observing the trial. For the first time, Aaron sensed a shift. Even the council, so long unshakable in its certainty, was questioning what it had assumed about his species. Human, Elder Corrin continued. Your answer challenges tradition. It suggests that wisdom is not only what one knows, but what one inspires. You may proceed, but understand this. The trial ahead will test not only your mind, but your character. The council will watch your choices carefully. Do not fail the next step. Aaron bowed respectfully. I will do my best. He left the chamber and walked through the palace gardens with Princess Liana. The gardens were filled with glowing plants that moved slowly in the night air, humming with life. Tiny creatures of light flitted among the flowers. The air was calm yet alive. You surprised them, Liana said softly. Your answer? It was not expected, yet it was right in a way only humans could see. Aaron smiled, though he felt the weight of the next challenge. I have learned that courage and wisdom are connected. The forest taught me courage, but it also taught me observation, patience, and understanding. Humans succeed when we combine what we feel with what we know. Liana nodded. That is true, but the council does not easily accept change. They will challenge you further, to see if your character is as strong as your mind. As they spoke, a sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Red lights flashed along the hallways. The princess's eyes widened. Rogues, she said. They have breached the outer perimeter. Someone is trying to disrupt the trial. Aaron's instincts kicked in immediately. Lead me to them, he said. Liana guided him to a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. Below, a group of alien raiders, swift and armed with strange energy weapons, had begun advancing. They moved carefully, but their intention was clear. Create chaos, endanger the trial, and humiliate the human. Stay here, Liana said. I will protect the palace. Aaron shook his head. I cannot. I will not leave while you face them alone. He leapt down into the gardens using trees and plants for cover. The raiders advanced, but they had not anticipated his tactics. Aaron was quick, agile, and inventive. He used the environment to his advantage, dodging attacks, creating diversions, and leading them into traps. Small walls of glowing plant energy could be manipulated with careful pressure, and he used them to block paths and redirect the attackers. The raiders were skilled, but unprepared for his unpredictability. Each human action surprised them, the way he moved silently, the way he used quick thinking to outmaneuver their superior strength. Princess Liana joined him, wielding a staff of light that could deflect attacks. Together they coordinated, combining strategy and courage. Aaron noticed something important. Humans and Varelians could complement each other. She had strength and knowledge. He had adaptability and creativity. Together they could face challenges far greater than either could alone. By the time the palace guards arrived, the raiders were trapped in a courtyard surrounded by walls of energy and glowing flora. They surrendered quickly, unable to counter the combined human-Varelian effort. The council arrived soon after, observing the scene from above. Murmurs of surprise and respect rippled through them. They had not expected a human to handle a real threat with such composure and skill. Elder Corrin's gaze met Aaron's. Your courage, wisdom, and quick thinking have been remarkable, he said. It seems the forest was only the beginning of your trials. Liana stood beside Aaron, her hand brushing his arm briefly. You have proven much more than the council expected, she said. You have proven what humans can do when they act with heart and mind together. Aaron felt a surge of hope. He had faced both the test of wisdom and an unexpected trial of danger, and he had succeeded. The council might still debate his worth, but he had earned a place in their consideration. And in that moment, he understood something essential. It was not just his courage or intelligence that mattered. It was his ability to act with integrity, to respect others and to work together with beings who were different from him, That was true wisdom. The council would see it soon enough. The alarms of the palace still echoed in Arin's ears as he and Princess Liana surveyed the outer walls. The earlier raid had been only a warning, a small group of raiders sent to test the palace defenses. Now, intelligence reports from the Igor city guards indicated a larger force approaching, one that could overrun the palace if it was not stopped. Arin's heart beat fast, but his mind was steady. We can't just wait for them to arrive, he said. We need to plan, use what we have, and prepare every defense. This is not about strength alone, it is about strategy. Liana nodded. You may be human, but your thinking is different. I trust you. Arin moved quickly through the palace corridors, gathering information and observing the defensive structures. The palace had strong walls of energy shields and intricate barriers, but the attackers were known to adapt quickly. If they were clever, they could find weak points. Arin began coordinating the guards using small squads and tactical maneuvers instead of relying solely on brute force. He realized that humans had a unique advantage: creativity and improvisation. While the Virelians were highly advanced and precise, they often relied on rules and patterns. Arin thought differently. He suggested using the gardens and glowing plants as traps, channeling the energy of the flora to create barriers or diversions. The palace engineers were skeptical, but he demonstrated the plan on a small scale, and it worked. When the raiders arrived, the full force of the assault was terrifying. Hundreds of alien ships hovered in the sky, sending energy pulses toward the palace walls. Below, armored raiders moved quickly across the grounds, attempting to breach gates and enter key chambers. Arin stayed calm. Split into squads of 5, he commanded the guards. Use the barriers as funnels. We control their movement. Lead them where we want them to go. Do not fight them head-on unless necessary. The raiders, confident in their superior numbers and weapons, were unprepared for the coordinated response. The glowing flora Arin had set up reacted to the pressure on the ground, creating walls of light that diverted raiders into narrow corridors. Their energy weapons became ineffective in the confined spaces, and Arin's squad struck with precision. Liana fought alongside him, her staff of light deflecting attacks and protecting the palace gates. She moved gracefully but fiercely, inspired by the human standing beside her. Together they created a rhythm, a flow of action that the raiders could not predict. At one point, a group of raiders attempted to breach the central gate using a hovering energy platform. Arin quickly climbed to the top of a nearby tower, observing their movement. He used a small device from his ship, a human invention designed to create temporary holographic duplicates, to trick the raiders into thinking more guards were approaching from another direction. The illusion worked. The raiders hesitated, unsure where to move. In that moment, Liana and Arin's squad struck, capturing the invaders and securing the gate. The palace walls held firm, and the raiders' confidence began to falter. Elder Corin and the other council members watched from the upper chambers. Their initial doubt had shifted into astonishment. Humans were not only courageous and wise, but also capable of rapid, innovative thinking in moments of danger. Many elders whispered among themselves, acknowledging what they had never believed possible. Arin noticed a young Virelian guard struggling with a raider. Without hesitation, he leapt forward, using a careful move to disarm the attacker without harm. The guard looked at him with surprise and gratitude. How? The young Virelian asked. Humans find ways when the odds are against them, Arin said simply. As the battle continued, Arin realized the raiders would attempt one final move, a direct attack on the main tower, where Princess Liana and the Royal Archive were located. He knew that if they reached the princess, the trial, and perhaps the alliance itself, could be ruined. Liana, you stay in the tower, he said. I will intercept them. No, she said firmly. We face them together. The palace is ours to protect. Arin smiled faintly. Together they moved to the tower entrance. They coordinated the guards, setting traps and using the palace's energy shields creatively. Arin instructed the squads to use the reflective walls to redirect energy pulses, turning the raiders' attacks back toward them. Liana reinforced these efforts with her own abilities, creating a wall of light that blocked multiple attackers at once. The raiders' leader, a tall alien with dark metallic armor, advanced toward them with a group of elite fighters. Aaron and Liana stood side by side, calm, yet ready. The leader underestimated the human, thinking him small and fragile. But Aaron's quick thinking turned the environment into a battlefield advantage. He used the reflective walls to confuse the leader, then led him into a narrow corridor where the elite fighters could be isolated and captured without harm. The palace gates held, the raiders retreated, and the battle was over. Not a single life was lost among the defenders, a fact that surprised even the council, who were used to counting casualties as inevitable. Elder Corrin finally spoke, his voice steady, but filled with rare emotion. "Human, you have demonstrated courage, wisdom, and ingenuity. The palace has survived because of your actions, and the princess is unharmed. We have witnessed something remarkable. You have shown qualities that even the most learned Varelians admire." The council members exchanged glances. Some still hesitated, clinging to old prejudices, but the younger members were visibly inspired. Aaron had changed their perspective, showing that humans were capable of far more than appearances suggested. Princess Liana stood beside him, her hand brushing against his arm. "You have done more than survive the trials," she said softly. "You have protected this palace, and everyone in it. That is courage and wisdom together." Aaron nodded, exhausted, but satisfied. "I only did what needed to be done. Humans survive by acting, thinking, and helping each other. It is not just about strength. It is about using what we have in the best way possible." Liana smiled. "And that is why I trust you." The council observed, some leaning forward with curiosity, others still unsure but unable to deny what they had seen. The human had proven that he could handle danger, think quickly, and act decisively while maintaining respect for life. He had earned a new level of consideration. Elder Corrin's eyes softened slightly. "The trials have tested more than courage and wisdom. You have shown your character, human. It is rare for one so small and young and inexperienced to display such balance. The princess's choice, should she make it, will carry meaning beyond custom or expectation." Aaron realized that the moment of judgment was approaching. The council might still debate, but one thing was clear. He had earned their respect even if some were slow to admit it. The final trial, the measure of trust and character, would come next, and the princess herself would have the most important decision to make. That evening, as the palace settled into quiet, Liana and Aaron walked along the balcony overlooking the city. The floating towers glimmered in the night sky, and the distant stars sparkled like jewels. "You have changed the council's minds more than you know," Liana said. "Your courage and wisdom impress them, but your heart, that is something they cannot ignore." Aaron smiled faintly. "I only hope I have shown that humans are more than appearances, that we can contribute, protect, and connect with others in ways that matter." Liana turned to him, her gaze steady and warm. "You have proven it, Aaron. And not just to the council. You have shown me as well." Aaron felt a quiet strength in her words. It was not just admiration. It was trust, understanding, and connection. He had faced the council, the forest, and the raiders, and he had emerged stronger. But the final test, he knew, would not be of skill, strategy, or courage alone. It would be of the bond he had formed, and of the choice the princess would make. As the night deepened, Aaron looked out at the city lights, reflecting on the journey so far. Humanity had arrived on this distant world, small but capable, underestimated but resilient. He had survived challenges that seemed impossible, proven that courage and wisdom were not confined to size or species, and earned the trust of a princess unlike any he had known. The council would make their final decision soon, but one truth remained clear. Humans could rise to greatness when they dared to act, to think, and to care. And Aaron felt certain that the next step, the choice of Princess Liana, would change everything.